hirap at sakripisyo na naranasan namin mula Piltover's finest hanggang sa makarating sa PGS, hindi namin sasayangin ang opportunity upang maipakita kung gaano kalakas ang Asian Arena.
Of course. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a while, but now we are back in a pro gaming series for the summer split of 2017. Of course, we'll be your shoutcasters for the first game. I am Atlas, and coming with me is Arctic. Of course. Yes. It's been a while since we got into the PGS. We had a good run in GPL. Of course, we also had the promos and relegations. All of that comes down today for the first day of the summer split.
Indeed, indeed. Really interesting games that we have today. You know, we're starting off the PGS with a bang. Of course, we'll be checking out our schedule in just a little bit. Very interesting because we have a lot of interesting rivalries.
Yeah,
that will be battling out.
The matches today, I'm really looking forward to them. There's quite some little bit of history in one of our matches today, as well as a brother battle for today. Like, looking at the schedule, first match is actually going to be Asian Arena versus Infuse Esports. And just a little note is that this Infuse isn't the same Infuse from the promos and relegations. It's actually G1, the team that got the auto-in spot during the promos and relegations.
That being said, this is actually very interesting because if you guys do recall during our PGS promotionals, it was actually both Asian Arena and in what was then formerly G1, now Infused Esports, that juked it out for that first seed direct into the Garena Pro Gaming Series. So, well, you know, it's kind of a vengeance in a way for our first game for Asian Arena, whether they could get that vengeance onto Infused Esports for not being able to secure that first seed during the promotionals.
Yeah, it's like, because Asian Arena lost that match against G1, which is now Infused, they had to go through another series to prove themselves against Emperor Esports, right?
Yes.
So now it's gonna be like they're gonna show the former G1, which is now Infused. We're just gonna call them Infused from now on. Show Infused how much they've learned, how much they've practiced in the time since the promos and relegations.
And you know, they have had a few weeks before PGS started. So yeah, I mean, of course, before we head into all that action, for those of you that might be wondering, we do actually have a promo for our Pro Gaming Series match within the matches for today. So we'll be having the match and win promo right there. But before that, we'll be heading straight into the action as we head into the pick and ban phase for this first game.
Where actually, of course, we'll be getting into the 10-ban system as is standard for pro leagues across the globe. Coming into this patch 7.10 now. First ban against Infused will be Liar's Ezreal.
I'm not surprised at all. You know, as Liar, as far as champions that we've actually seen him excel in, Ezreal is definitely one of them, especially when he really gets going towards the mid and late game. So definitely a lot of respect there from the AD carry of Infused Esports.
A very mobile ADC banned away. Definitely something that's puts a hit on Infused potential. Coming into the second ban, the first ban here for Infused will be the Zac, who has been rising in popularity lately because those stretching strikes combined with his long-range initiation actually is so potent, and how much it can disrupt, taking it away against Zenavla, who is one of the stronger junglers coming into this split.
Yeah, and like for me, I'm actually not surprised by the respect that Infused Esports is showing towards Zenavla, because if I had to peg one superstar player I find on Asian Arena, definitely one of the stronger players for them, I'd definitely peg it onto Zenavla. So not a surprise that if you guys notice, not just the Zac, but Elise as well. And then we're also going to be having the Fizz banned out from Jason, who's actually shown an exemplifying Fizz during the PGS promotionals as well.
And it's going to be Pandar's. Taken away from him is the Rumble, a pretty potent generic ban as well because of the objective control that it brings out. So lots of jungle bans actually.
Indeed.
The Zac, Elise, and Graves. So I won't be surprised to see Kha'Zix, Lee Sin. Those would be some go-to junglers now that those are banned out.
Indeed.
First pick, prioritizing the Gragas here for ACA.
Yeah, definitely. And we have seen Gragas really making a comeback as of these recent patches. So I'm definitely estimating that this could potentially be a Gragas top or maybe a flex into the jungle. This is one of the interesting things about Gragas right now. So yeah, anyways, going into Infused Esports as well, looks like Galio and the Ivern will be hovered over for him.
That's a lot of protection. Not just protection, also damage reduction. There's a shields from Ivern, the hero's entrance giving that carry a substantial damage reduction. It might actually be the Kazakhs going for a more aggressive approach here from XTXP. Pandars might be picking up that Galio, or it might be mid lane.
Yes.
It can be flexed.
Can. And you know what's interesting is that, and funny enough, I've been looking into some of the scrims. We've actually been seeing a little bit of Galio in the support role as well, as far as what I've been hearing. So, I mean, this is a very heavy flex pick. But yeah, I'm actually definitely prefer the Kazakhs over the Ivern that was hovered over, because if they locked in that Ivern, I feel like they'd be revealing a little bit too much information as to what composition they might have been going for, just because of the pure protection that they emphasize right off the bat. But anyways, for ACA, we actually have the Kog'Maw and Fiora being hovered over as well.
Or I like this, actually. They have a lot of, they already have a lot of tankiness in frontline with the Gragas, as well as disengage for the Kog'Maw, but they're not putting all of their money on one champion, on one player. Jason on that Fiora will allow them to have another damage carry in case Luxuria doesn't pop off too early.
And you know what I like? I'm actually quite surprised in a way that Asian Arena is going for this Fiora for Jason. But then again, it goes both ways for me, I guess, because looking at the roster that ACA has, back when they were in the Piltover's Finest series, there was this view, even for teams that I've been handling before, wherein there wouldn't be as much of a like they didn't consider Jason much of a threat in the past. But I'm actually quite proud of him in a way, because I've seen so much growth from him. So the fact that AC is actually giving him champions such as the Fiora, which could just really snowball out of control, it just really shows not only how much he's progressed and improved, but also it shows the trust that ACA has in Jason now.
The trust that after all that growth, you can put Jason on a carry role like Fiora. Coming to the second ban phase, we're going to have the Ahri ban, Nivea ban against Eiko, and then 2 support bans. Very interesting, and seems like Ahri's been picked a lot. Of course, she's getting nerfed in 7.11, but that hasn't come yet. So players really wanting to eke out as much value by banning her, by picking her. So we're going to see here. The alternative here is Eiko on that Syndra. Very big damage, loss of burst. Might be dangerous in case XD, XP, or Liar get into a bad spot. But of course, they have so much. Ooh, that might be the Talia mid lane. So it's probably going to be the top lane Galio here. Talia got into mid lane. Seems like they have a lot of potential in terms of these skirmishes coming into the middle game.
Indeed. And
it might be the Yasuo. Of course, it hasn't been locked in. But I'm pegging it more on the Talia.
Yeah, I feel like the Kalia would definitely make much more sense with the composition that
because they only have one knockup, 1 or 2 knockups with a Galio in case they did pick the Yasuo. So this will be the Talia mid lane for Envy. Seeing how all of this right now. And the Tahm Kench pickup for Moraita Boy. It's going to be very interesting. Very protective composition. They have lots of disengage with the Gragas, protection with Moraita Boy's Tahm Kench, but they have no slack in damage in case Luxuria goes down. Because Eiko and Jason, they're going to put out tons of damage coming into the team fights and skirmishes.
And for looking at the composition that, as for Infused, for example, this is actually somewhat classic, something that I'd actually expect from them as far as what compositions they went for as early as their Piltover's Finest days, going into promotionals and now into the summer split. So no surprises right here. There's our champions that we have seen each player somewhat use, whether it be in tournaments or even during promotionals. But yeah, very, very classic Infused. But as for Asian Arena, I gotta hand it to them. Because the interesting about ACA before is they had this level of predictability, but the growth that we've seen from them going into promotionals and now into this split, it just shows they're showing a lot more versatility with what champions they're able to release. And I definitely feel like you have to give credit in a way to the individual players for stepping up their game.
Yeah, it seems like with a composition like this, they've grown a lot. They have a lot more trust in each other, and the fact that they're going for a really aggressive, sub-aggressive composition like this means that they really have grown in terms of their macro play, that they want to show how much they can do with a composition like this. In terms of Infused Esports, this is a very aggressive composition with a good balance of defense. So I really like it. Lots of defense coming from the Galio front line as well. If they want to go in with as much damage as they can, block people off with walls, they can do it. But if they want to just get out of dodge, they can do so easily as well.
Indeed, indeed. So we'll just have to see how this transpires. Again, it's the battle of the new teams going into the PGS. So we'll just have to see if Asian Arena will be able to prevail, get vengeance onto Infused Esports, or if Infused Esports will continue to show dominance over Asian Arena.
Of course, we'll be seeing all that in a little bit. We'll be having a short video on the teams in a little bit. Of course, before that, talking more about the compositions. It's really going to be explosive come mid-game, because this is where the power spike of these two compositions come in. But of course, it's going to be up to how the players play it. We'll be showing that video in a little bit. Of course, we are loaded onto the Rift for the first game of the first day of the summer split of the Pro Gaming Series between Asian Arena, or ACA, versus Infused Esports, or INF. And this, as Arctic has mentioned, it's going to be a revenge match for ACA against this former G1 team.
Oh, yes, indeed. This is going to be a very juicy game, indeed. It's going to be battle of the new teams. Ooh, and we will see who will show prominence and dominance. Will it be Asian Arena? Will it be Infused? Of course, wherever you're watching right now, whether it be YouTube and Facebook, be sure to indicate in our chat logs as to who you are supporting right now. Is it ACA win, hashtag ACA win, or hashtag INF win?
Make some noise in the chat, even on social media, your Twitter, even if you want to. Of course, we're live at gaming.youtube.com/phgarena/live. We'll be showing our match and win promo as well. We'll be showing one code per matchup. So there's one of the two games for each match. We will be showing a code with a missing character. It might be a letter or a number, and you have to guess it. If you're the first, you'll be getting a mystery gift. So coming into this game, seems like our players aren't doing anything too risky for their level 1s.
So it looks like both sides, for both Zinabla and XDXP, both are going to be starting off their red camps right here. So it's going to be interesting how these rotations will actually transition once we head past that 3-minute mark.
Yeah, it seems like Zinabla wants to path around. We have a versatile path. Comes to Raptors, red, and then has a better chance, actually, of helping out Jason here, who needs it a lot more than, say, Panders. Panders can sustain himself a lot in the top lane.
There we go. Looks like we're heading into the action, ladies and gents. Yes, indeed. Laning phase starts out right off the bat for both sides. And like you did mention, nothing particularly sneaky within the first. So both teams kind of gauging each other out, playing it a little bit more safer, just heading for their standard lanes.
Just the standard lanes will be the pickup here for these players.
But of course, for Asian Arena, they actually have to be a little bit more careful, because Envy, as you guys notice, of course, he's going to continue to just shove these lanes, and that'll grant him some level of roam. So that being said, Asian Arena, they should definitely be thinking of establishing vision earlier on, especially knowing the dominance of XDXP as well, as far as what rotations he makes. And look at this. Look at the aggression.
So much pain. It's like Moraita Boy on the Tompkins, of course, can save Luxuria from a lot of sticky situations, but it's so hard to actually trade against a Karma.
And, I mean, of course, this is Kog'Maw and Tompkins, so in a way, if anything, what Moraita Boy can pretty much only do is just try to prevent what damage, what pokes, actually, they put onto Luxuria until such time that they're able to get ganks, or until the Kog'Maw, has enough front line to just really dish out the max damage that he can at level 6.
Yeah, just tons of DPS without disruptions, without having to move and kite around. Seems like XDXP might be looking for a gank here in the bot lane, or for a little bit of counter jungling against Zinabla. Every resource taken away from that Gragas is a huge boost to how much Infuse can do. Oh man, Moraita Boy instantly gets taken down. Now Luxuria in quite a tight spot. 3v1 with half health, just gets taken down by Liar.
Wow, they juggled that pretty well, and looks like XDXP will be taking that true damage, but not exactly enough to take him down. But, wow, I mean, only within the first more than 3 minutes of the game, so I really liked how Infuse actually juggled that.
It seems like in top lane is going to be gank coming from Zinabla. It's going to be the flash from Panner's Burnt here. Will they have enough damage? The Vital is on the left side, so that will guarantee the kill, giving it to Zinabla.
Good trade-off, I must say. They did see that something was happening towards the bot lane, and this is what happens when you have both junglers kind of starting off opposite sides of the map. They transition on to ganking basically opposite sides of the map as well. Unlike previous games wherein if they'd start off the same side, it would basically come to a point wherein junglers would kind of meet towards ganking if they do decide on ganking the same
around
lane.
a skull crab, around a brush.
Exactly.
But coming to there, it seems like it's more worth it for Infuse. They did get 2 kills off of that after all. Plus XDXP got a little bit of a camp lead in terms of the CS because he was able to get some of the Krugs.
Of course, you know, Infuse Esports definitely, like I mentioned, Jason has shown tremendous improvement from back from his amateur days going into the pro scene. That being said, Infuse has to be a little bit more careful. They kind of want to make sure that they don't feed they wouldn't allow ACA to kind of feed Jason a bit too much because he's going to become very, very painful.
Definitely something very hard to deal with. A very mobile bruiser like Jason would be very hard to deal with.
And you know, it's interesting. I really like how XDXP kind of made it the proactive move to transition into this top lane within his rotation because
very
of that
aggressive.
fact.
And how he rotates around the map. Seems like a little bit too pushed in to get a gank for Pandars. After all, he is a Galio. Naturally pushes the lane. Zinavla might use this as an opportunity. There is a ward waiting for him in terms of vision here. This is going to be Pandars trying to taunt Jason. Does not actually get the riposte against that. Here comes Zinavla, still going for the gank. Justice Punch knocks Jason up. Now he has no escape. Gets knocked up by the body slam. Has no choice but to walk around to his death. Kill again goes to Zinavla.
Yeah, it's again, this is somewhat textbook in a way, what Asian Arena is doing. But of course, despite it being textbook, it's very, very effective if they could get it going. Although, it is rather unfortunate that both kills actually go to Zinavla.
Yeah,
because
that's not optimal.
Yeah, because if both went to Jason, then that would have been really, really good for ACA. That being said, you know, it's still a stroke of luck in a way for Pandars. At least he doesn't have to deal with a 2-kill Fiora as opposed to a 2-assist Fiora.
Yeah, it's not the optimal gold spread for ACA, considering how gold on Fiora is actually a lot more valuable than gold in the hands of Gragas. So they have to be mindful to give the kills to Jason later. But of course, that might have been because that was a sure kill already. Pandars already burned his flash. No way to escape because the Justice Punch is not reliable. So should have just given it to Jason. It's
actually interesting if you actually notice the masteries as far as the keystones that each member went for. Pandar's actually running Grasp of the Undying. So
that might be XDXP a little bit of trouble. Oh man, instantly gets taken down by ACA. Unleashed power.
Oh man, Infuse Esports definitely have to show a little bit more respect. And like I've been saying, I'm actually surprised that we're not seeing as much vision from them. This is actually, in a way, one of the strong suits that I've seen from them during promotionals. Where in ACA, they didn't quite have as great vision, but looks like going into the PGS right now, ACA showing. This is what I really like about ACA. They've shown so much improvement, and some of the evident mistakes or weaknesses that they had during promotionals, during the PF series, they managed to correct. And I'm really just liking, it's somewhat refreshing actually that we're seeing a very, I wouldn't say newly improved, but just an ACA that has just improved so much.
Yeah, there's like different paradigms coming into this game, different focus. They're much more versatile, as you've said. So it's definitely refreshing to see ACA like this.
And it's somewhat worrying because, like I mentioned, the composition that Infuse has, it's very signature, something that I'd expect from them. So, I don't know. It's somewhat worrisome if this actually translates to them just sticking to what signature plays, signature strats that they normally use during promotionals, because sometimes it's those habits that doesn't necessarily translate once you are in the pro gaming series.
But I am expecting Infuse to just stick to their guns for this game, have a lot of aggressive skirmishes coming into the mid game. Once their champions reach their power spikes, I'm expecting a lot of roams as well coming from Pandars, once getting his TP plays up, get that hero's entrance value. It seems like they will be sticking for their guns here, but we'll see if that actually pays off in this game and the other games that Infuse will have for the rest of the split.
Yeah, and here we go. If you guys notice, Pandar's actually just trying to freeze this lane as much as possible. He has learned from that mistake earlier where he doesn't want to push that lane too much because he would become susceptible to gank from Zinavla. And that's, like I mentioned, this is something that they don't want to happen, especially with Jason on a Fiora.
Definitely going to be scary. Now that he has his Tiamat, it will be quite a boost in terms of his wave clear. Will be able to match the Winds of War and Justice Punch farm Pandars. Plus, it's actually a huge boost in the DPS because of the animation cancels.
Indeed. So yeah, there we go. Looks like Echo in exchange actually turning the tides, pushing out the wave onto Talia. So this is actually good because this will kind of deny Envy some sort of roam potential that he would have otherwise normally had, especially since he is running such a champion.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall plus a Storm Raider Surge. Lots of mobility here for this Talia. And if Eiko gets that blue buff, and you will be able to match the wave clear and prevent Envy from roaming around.
So there we go.
Or
Looks
at least
like
make it a very hard decision.
yeah, definitely. So overall, yeah. And if you're gonna look at it still, I really like the defensive warding coming from ACA because they do know how XDXP kind of leans toward these tendencies to kind of invade camps, deny farms from Zenabla. So that being said, again, it's just ACA playing it a little bit more analytical in a sense, knowing what habits their enemy has, and kind of counter them in a way to make sure that they don't really fall flat themselves.
Yeah, all that safety actually helps out the rest of their lanes as well. XDXP, earlier he did path around quite long to get that dive into the bot lane. So what's possible is they're also putting down vision to make sure that Luxuria is very safe. Because Luxuria, that's their key to the late game. Of course, they have the Fiora on Jason on that Fiora, Eiko on that Syndra, but that's going to be a 4v5 if Luxuria gets more deaths like he did earlier. Now he's just farming. 75 to 91 is pretty bad, but it's not hopeless. This is a natural occurrence of the lane.
Indeed. And, this is somewhat what you expect of pros. They're definitely reading their situations, knowing it's very classic, Same for Pandar, same for the bot lane of ACA. They know that they didn't start off the game quite as well, but it looks like Zenabla actually got out here.
Might be in trouble here. That's going to be the Weaver's Wall to lock him out, but he's already out of dodge. The Blast Cone is there to help him out.
Yes, looks like he will be escaping right the boy actually within the vicinity for that extra precaution in case things do get ugly for Asian Arena.
Oh man, that's going to be Eiko taken down almost taken down. The Devour coming from Moraita Boy will save him, but that's still a dangerous place to be in. Oh, the flash body slam plus the explosive cast takes out that support. Sashi. Now it's going to be Liar in duress here. Gets the flash plus the Chains of Corruption, so he's not body slammed on. Now it's going to be Jason. A little bit of trouble alone there earlier. Oh man, Eiko gets taunted. Gets devoured once again by Moraita. But here comes a hero's entrance. Shut down against Zenabla while all that's happening.
Oh man.
Now it's going to be Pander. So much threat from the Winds of War. 2 Doran's rings, actually a lot of AP.
Zenabla really making the plays here for ACL, although he did kind of succumb to 1 death in the end, but still definitely worth 100% kill participation. So really getting things going. Plus, I got to commend Moraita Boy right there. Those were some very crucial devour. Yeah, exactly. To really protect his teammates, because that would have went really bad had it not been a Tahm Kench that Moraita Boy was on.
Yeah, because the thing here is what happened there. It could have been a very bad fight because of how they played it. Infuse was not able to get the control over the Drake. Because from the way they were rotating, it seems like they were going for the Infernal Drake, which is really important for Infuse composition. But because they got body slammed onto by Zenabla, the rest of the team responding quickly, the Infernal Drake was, in a way, denied.
Wow. I mean, what's actually interesting for me is that with the history that ACA has, originally Moraita Boy was their jungler, so transitioning into the support and seeing how effective he is right now as that support and that synergy that he has with Luxury in a way, it's quite refreshing. And at the same time, this is somewhat signature, I'd say, of his champ pool thus far. He's played excellent on a Zillion during PGS promotionals. Now Tahm Kench. So there's these very crucial clutch plays that he makes.
Rescue team supports.
Exactly.
All those to protect their carries. And I think Moraita Boy being so comfortable in the support role right now is because it's eerily similar to jungling. And you're supporting your team, you're babysitting your carries. And I think the experience of jungling actually makes his rotations a lot better. I mean, of course, he's kind of behind. He's kind of even in level, still even. But the roams, because he's a jungler, they're a lot more effective. He's a lot more mindful about where to go.
So I gotta say, if Asian Arena actually keeps this up, we might actually see a win. We might actually potentially see the vengeance that they want onto Infuse Esports right here. But looks like XDXP transitioning, getting submission onto this Inferno.
A little more careful around Eiko, which is good for Infuse. They will be aggressively rotating for this Infernal Drake. It is one of the more important Drakes for this composition. They have to be mindful though, but that is one very squishy Drake. Oh man, it's going to be Unleashed Power against Envy. Oh, that's going to be missing. Eiko will be the target for XDXP. Gets taken down, isolated. How will ACA trade for this?
So that was the numbers game right
man,
there.
It sounds like they're going to be trading for this with a fight. Oh man, that's going to be the explosive cast to put Liar into rest. It's going to be Luxuria taking away the kill. A huge boost in gold. Now Jason, no mana, has to face off against this Gargoyle. Justice Punch to the face. Winds of War finishes him off.
That was a very well-timed riposte, but in the end, the damage output from Pandora. Not to mention the fact that Jason did not have any mana in that situation, so it was just
lunge,
so hard.
Could not do the blade work.
Exactly.
None of it left, and the constant DPS come from Panders. The small bursts of damage he can get take him out.
But yeah,
it's gonna be Weaver's Wall. Luxuria does have flash though. Actually, it's going to be Zenabla going to be the target for him. Free kill onto Liar, or rather onto Envy.
Yeah, that was actually a very interesting clash though. Like at the start, it was kind of a misposition from Eiko in a way, because despite that, Syndra does deal a lot of damage, but when alone, there's that level of vulnerability, plus the fact that Infuse, they actually, if you guys notice, there was actually a setup onto Morita Boy at first, but then again, seeing that the members of Infused Esports kind of converged together, they decided to change tack, change direction. Instead of going for Morita Boy, they did notice that the numbers game was in favor of them if they did go for Eiko instead, which was kind of isolated, separated from that team in that Dragon Pit.
And that's the ideal target for XDXP. He is on a Kazik. He thrives on these isolated targets, and I love how Infused just saw that opportunity to isolate Eiko and then get the numbers advantage on them and then take it immediately. I like that adaptation. Seeing that both of these teams, they really have grown since the promos and relegations.
Indeed. And actually, an interesting fact that I would like to bring up, if you're going to look at the rosters for each side, Asian Arena actually has 2 members that have PGS experience in the form of both Luxuria and Morita Boy. Morita Boy formerly on J2 Esports Betrayal, if I'm not mistaken. Luxuria, on the other hand, his last team was Naga Esports.
Oh so, man, that is like ancient history.
Exactly.
At this point.
So it's kind of the comeback in a way of these classic players from seasons past.
It's very exciting to see them perform now in 2017. Spring Split.
Indeed. And on the other hand, for Infused Esports, a very fresh roster, not a single form of, well, with the exception of their sub, of course, which is Calculated. But of course, since Calculated isn't playing this game, a very fresh roster playing out this first game here. So we'll just have to see how that translates.
The Abyssal Voyage might be setting up for a roam there in the bot lane. Oh man, that's Liar cornered. Luxuria almost being taken down, but that's still, in the end, going to be a 1v3 in favor of ACA.
Teleport actually being popped from Jason for extra measure, but not even needed. But looks like here comes
blocking them off from the turret. Minions don't know what to do. Easy wave clear for Infuse.
Very, very nice right there for Infuse, you know. But still, they definitely have to keep on their toes here.
Yeah, Luxuria is 2-1-0 right now, matching the kill score of Liar, plus catching up in terms of CS. So the longer that they let Luxuria get the alone time he needs with his farm, get more kills, it's going to be very dangerous for Infuse. And if they get this, a lot of damage onto this turret will be very dangerous. Of course, XDXP not letting that happen. The threat of his presence will be felt. Seems like now he's on the run though.
And I gotta commit AC in a way. Now that their composition is actually becoming much more clearer, and one of the key strengths that I've seen thus far, actually we have seen it in that Initiate, is the level of mobility that they have through such champions such as the Tom Kench. And yeah, it's a really good setup. Although Envy with his Talia is kind of a counter to that if he could get a good Weaver's Wall to stop any form of setup that ACA has with that Tom Kench. So it just kind of goes both ways for both sides.
Seems like they might be going for another gank here in the bot lane. Oh man, that is going to be Sashi. A little bit of trouble. The explosive gas doesn't quite hit the mark, but Luxuria has enough range. XDXP might going for revenge here, but a little bit too risky. If they go on to Liar, it's going to be very hard. Here comes the Mantis though. XDXP onto Morita Boy, gets the rough skin damage. Blocked. Oh, the body slam actually stops him, but here comes Envy. That's going to be the threaded volley, taking out Morita Boy. Luxuria will be the next target, a little bit off angle. So Luxuria lives with a little bit of health.
That was quite the damage coming from Envy right there. I was actually anticipating that maybe the tankiness of the Tom Kench would actually be enough to kind of block out the damage for Luxuria, but it looks like because of the damage...
Oh man, it's going to be the Weaver's Wall here. Envy straight from the bot lane, coming back to mid. Now it's going to be the Unleash power against Envy. Threatened him away, but an Ignite burns him to dust.
Oh man, really good KDA right now for Envy actually. 3-0-2 on the Stalia. Not a single death to his name. And looks like that'll actually be transitioning to the first turret, going to Infuse Esports.
Yeah, Infuse definitely performing very well with his fresh roster. Jason trying to trade a little bit of objective there in the top lane, but Panders travels back there for a little bit of defense.
And this is actually an interesting test here because we have seen, I gotta hand it, early game I feel like Asian Arena made a lot more great plays, but going into this mid and late game, this will actually be the true test if that's it. If the synergy that they have and how they played out that early game would actually translate to better things going into this mid and late game here. Because if you're going to look at past games during promotionals, I feel like that's somewhat where they've become a little bit more shaky, and why Infuse Esports rather was able to land that first seed. It's because of capitalizing on these awkward mistakes that Asian Arena might have had transitioning to the later parts of the game.
Yeah, it seems like Asian Arena has a little bit left to learn. Actually, especially coming up against a team that they lost to in the promos and relegations. Aiko might be in trouble here. Don't have a lot of CC. Aiko just trying to kill someone. But that's going to be Liar taking away the kill. That was a 3v1.
Yeah, I mean, what's actually interesting here is that a lot of that early game dominance that Asian Arena has, I'd actually peg it on the proactivity of Zinabla. 100% kill participation for ACA right now. So that being said, Asian Arena, they might have to figure out a way to just not rely purely on Zinabla to really get things going for them. Because if you notice, without those moments wherein Zinabla wasn't present, those were the moments wherein it was a little bit more awkward for ACA. That being said,
yeah, they were very vulnerable in those points, and I really like how XDXP is also very proactive. 2-1 and 4, that's a 66% kill participation is not bad, and considering that every single gank that he's pulled has usually been successful. And I'd have to say it, I have to put it to Sachi roaming as well with Liar, giving away that mid lane kill. Plus, it's going to be the mid lane turret. Here comes Muraita Boy with Zinabla. They might be in trouble. He's going to be the body slam flash. The hero's entrance will try and save them. They get cast away from there. It's going to be Muraita Boy devouring his jungler. Now it's going to be Jason. Try to go for the DPS against the support. Sashi gets taken down. Going to be Panders now the target. He is a tank, but not against the true damage of Jason and 3 other members of ACA.
Yeah, so the numbers game that was definitely played there, and throughout that entire fight, I was actually wondering where Envy was. But yeah, that being said, ACA was actually faster to kind of converge together. Translates to 2 kills, not a single casualty to their side, so they're definitely back on track now.
That was a little bit too quick for Envy to react to, plus his Weaver's Wall was not up for that. And still, throughout that entire fight, those 2 kills, Zinabla still with a 100% kill participation.
Exactly. That being said, Infuse Esports definitely needs to be a little bit more aware of when responses are available to them. So let's go ahead and check out what happened here. If you're going to look at it, I was actually expecting Infuse to kind of dominate in this clash because they actually had the numbers advantage at the start.
They were cornered.
Exactly. But of course, ACA, because of the CC that they had, a lot of hold onto Infuse, plus the damage output coming here because of the threat of Zinabla right here being in the front line. It just allowed ACA enough time for Jason to actually join this fight later on. And Infuse, as a result, you know, just slowly getting drilled down. And they're just forced to back away in the end. So just really went great for Asian Arena because of Zinabla.
They are still 2,000 gold behind and 2 Drakes behind. But that kind of mistake leaves Infuse open to lose a little bit of the lead that they established earlier.
Indeed. And you know, it's still, it's kind of interesting. It's still quite hard to tell as to which team will actually eventually triumph. So we actually have top lane right now. It's quite shoved right now, although somewhat being managed right now by Envy, but still Asian Arena on the other hand, Panda is trying to make things happen, pushing out the spot lane here, so it's still very equal.
Very, very equal indeed. Ooh, April almost getting a stun onto Sapphire, Chachi.
That's a lot. That's interesting damage right there. So, I mean, yeah, but still, despite that, if you guys, I'm actually surprised because if you're gonna look at the Karma's build right now, it's actually not as tanky, but still, the damage from the Dark Spear wasn't as strong. Not to mention the CC. It's purely because Aika right now 1, 3, and 2 not quite there yet, as opposed
really
to his counterpart.
Zinabla focused a lot on top lane, leaving Aiko a little bit vulnerable to XDXP's ganks because he's not snowballing, he's not pulling out as much damage as he can. I like how Sashi is really banking into the roaming part of being a support. Get that Moby boots for that move speed so he can roam around other lanes. On the other hand, Muraita Boy's fine with the Abyssal Voyage, coming to just the Merc Treads here. A lot of possible vision for them though. Still a lot. Look at the cooldowns on those trinkets. They are really maximizing
Indeed.
how much value those wards can bring out.
And this, we were bringing up about Eiko, how 1-3 and 2, and he's not quite there yet. But what I do like about Asian Arena right now is, despite that fact, they actually heavily make up for it because of the lead that Zenobla has. Not to mention the fact that they do have some level of reliable damage coming from both Luxuria and Jason as well because of what scores they have right now. I mean, if you notice, Luxuria was actually the first casualty within the early game, but now 3-1-0 on this Kog'Maw. So that actually spells out a lot more problems that Infuse has to deal with right now.
XDXP might be in trouble, and Leash Power not quite enough to take him out. The Brick Shred's really helping him out there.
Exactly, and like I mentioned, this is the problem with Eiko right now. He's not dishing out enough, way behind-ish in a way in comparison to his mid lane counterpart, which is
the difference is also quite substantial. The wave clear, the roaming that Envy can get means it can tax lanes all throughout.
Exactly.
And his actually pretty clean. His KDA 3-0-2, over 50% kill participation because of his roams. Quite effective on that Talia.
We'll just have to see how this goes for Asian Arena, that being said. So, yeah, I mean, what Eiko basically needs to do right now is just kind of get back on up, kind of get up to par. But here comes the Weaver's Wall, actually. For
and just to escape a little bit of a lockdown coming from Moraita Boy there.
Better safe than sorry, I'd say.
That's true.
And, you know, as this game does go on, you know, that Weaver's Wall actually does lose a substantial amount of cooldown during the latter phases of this game.
It seems like every single objective fight, that Weaver's Wall will be available to just knock them away from objectives, lock them out of these turrets. It's a very versatile ultimate. I really like it. And we'll see how Envy, he's been using it very effectively in the past few times, even as an escape or as an offensive tool to lock away targets pathing. We're going to see how he transitioned that into later in the game.
Yeah, and Eiko definitely needs to step up during those later phases of the game because Zenobla won't be as potent as he would in the later phase, where he'll just be fulfilling more of a frontline tank role for Asian Arena. So, that being said, it's within that transition wherein Eiko should be stepping up along with, well, technically Jason and Luxuria are very well within that position already because of their interesting standings right now, and plus the fact that they do deal a substantial amount of damage, as we have seen in that last clash earlier, which went in their favor 2-0.
Compared to the power spike of Infused, however, they're still quite behind in terms of the damage that they can bring out. Luxuria still hasn't reached that point of sheer power on that Kog'Maw, and Jason having a little bit of trouble taking out Panders. He does bring out the grand challenge, the flash over. Both of them match it, plus blocking the Justice Punch, dealing a lot of true damage actually, quite enough to take down Panders. Panders. Now it's going to be Eiko. The Chains of Corruption do hit, but Liar does not want to push his luck. That is going to be the Mallow Drake in the hands of ACA because of that really nice kill top lane by Jason, preventing any sort of teleport play coming from Pandars.
Excellent positioning there. They knew what objectives they could have gotten out of that, taking it down to a T. And again, this is actually a very good macro play overall coming from ACA right now. And Infuse definitely need to step it up because, if anything, they've been capitalizing more on mispositions from AC as opposed to just...
Oh man, it's going to be Abyssal Voyage with Zenobla in the backline for a little bit of help. Oh man, that's going to be a very thin avenue for them. Eiko still has the stun onto Sashi. Does not quite have the ultimate, but it will be enough damage for him to take out. XDXP looking for Zenobla here. The teleport from Pandars is available. It's a very tanky Zenobla. Gets a lot of heals on him, but the rain of arrows will take him out. The Hero's entrance to the back line. Eiko and Luxuria quite low for the carries here. Devoured by Moraita Boy. Still takes out Luxuria. It's going to be Jason almost taking out Pandars. Not quite enough. Moraita Boy now giving the Quadra onto Envy. It's going to be Eiko on the run.
Oh, wow. And I'm just in awe right now. This only establishes Envy's lead all the more. Quadra kill for that Talia. That is not a good position at all for AC.
It looks like they turn it into a Baron. They do have the tools for it. Isolated damage, a fed carry, redemption to top off their health. It's very possible. Look at how fast they're taking that health down. And with the shields coming from Sashi, it's definitely going to be a very safe Baron.
And there's just no way Asian Arena can respond to this. Not even teleport up for Jason, who's actually still 8 seconds away from actually responding. So this will only make Infuse all the more potent with their siege potential.
Assist pings from ACA, but there was no way they could have done that. Let's break down that team fight.
I mean, wow. So here we go. We actually have Weaver's Wall coming in from Envy right here later on. But yeah, look, going into this clash right here, Infuse Esports is toppling over members of Asian Arena. And the interesting here is that members of Asian Arena, they're actually grouped together. So this actually allows Envy to, with their groups up, this allows them a susceptible amount of damage. Exactly. And it's just Infuse Esports at this point toppling onto the members of Asian Arena, that they're just toppling down one by one. Not to mention all those skills going to the Talia to boot.
Yeah.
It just went really well for Infuse.
I don't like how they focus too much on Sachi, because they dove two levels of turrets just for Sachi, and then after that they got cornered by the teleport, by the hero's entrance, leaving them open. And that's what I was talking about earlier. That is going to be the match and win. Just guess that character. It's either a number or a letter, and you will be getting Arcade Ezreal if you're the first to guess it.
And you know, furthermore, that being said, if you notice who Asian Arena was prioritizing in those clashes, it didn't really work out for him as much, because
yeah, that's true.
Just granted, Lyra
alone versus 3, however, there's not much to say here other than he's dead.
Pretty much.
That fight earlier was really not in favor of ACA, not just because they were cornered, but they shouldn't be taking those kinds of rotations and aggressive plays when they're behind in terms of the power spike. This composition wants to wait it out later in the game, while Infuse wants to fight you. And because of that lead, they get that Baron buff, they get an inhibitor turret, might even get this one here, but a threat will be enough for them to get out of here. Zenabla still wanting to go for probably play.
Good on Pandars though, because of his split separature, he might have gone down, might have resulted to his death. But that being said, because 3 members of ACA were distracted towards the bot lane, it just allowed the rest of the members of Infuse to just make a huge push towards the top lane. I'm actually surprised. If you can look at the members of ACA, they were actually quite scattered around the map. 3 members towards that bot side, not to mention Eiko was actually near the river side to boot towards the dragon side area. So I'm actually surprised that, knowing that Infuse Esports has this Baron, they didn't take any proactive steps to actually just protect their towers, because that was somewhat predictable in a way. And what
that is going to be Zenabla devoured by Muraita Boy after being snared by that chain of corruption. Very useful net devour, but at this point of the game, when ACA is 7,000 gold behind and 2 breaks, might be not enough value, not enough utility.
There we go. Infuse Esports actually establishing some sort of level of offensive vision on the side.
They are in position.
Indeed.
Because they are 6,000 gold ahead. I really like XDXP's build here as well. Knowing that Eiko has lots of burst, knowing that the damage from Luxuria and Jason is available, he goes for a more tanky build with a Black Cleaver standard, but he also has a Sarex Gauge and a Merc.
I'm actually a little bit surprised that, if you notice, Pandars was actually farming towards the upper side of their jungle. And that being said, Infuse, while that was happening, they were actually establishing a form of shove in that mid lane. So, I mean, it's probably not as significant, but it's kind of those small details wherein if that was Pandars actually shoving the top side at the same time that Infuse was pushing out the mid lane, this would have actually granted them so much pressure. But that being said, still, in the overall picture, it's still working in Infuse's favor. There's a lot of pressure across the map here, and Asian Arena doesn't really have much to do but respond to this.
Yeah, being forced into a responsive role on the side of this matchup is something that ACA does not want. Being forced into being responsive is not a good situation, because you want to be the one making these proactive plays. But earlier, ACA made a proactive play that went very sour. So this all actually culminates into them being threatened so much by Envy.
And look at this right here. Eiko taking a small chunk of health, but still, leading to that, I gotta say, indeed, this is actually what Asian Arena does not want to be in right now, in a role wherein they just have to respond to whatever proactive plays Infuse makes. That being said, if you're going to look at the composition, they're actually quite vulnerable when they are separated.
Yeah.
Especially this Kog'Maw that Luxuria is running here.
Luxuria really needs to watch out. He has a lot of items, but if his frontline falls, because XD, XP, or Envy are quite fed, that might not be enough.
Indeed. Like, sure, they have
Cloud Drake.
They have a level of frontline in the form of Zenabla. They have some level of protection from Muraita Boy here, but that could easily fall off because of the heavy lead that both Envy has. Not to mention XD, could easily go into that backline, kind of cause some sort of chaos for ACA, where they'd have to kind of weigh in whether they'd protect their carry, whether they would take down key targets for Infuse. There's just so much they have to consider in these clashes.
And the thing is, if Luxuria gets swallowed by Muraita Boy, that's around 2 or 3 seconds where Luxuria is not dealing DPS, which means that XD, Envy, Liar can just go get in there, get their damage off without fear that there's Luxuria around to DPS them down. And Eiko is not ahead enough to actually make use of his damage. Envy can just block off his first initial slow and stun with a Scatter the Weak with his Banshee's Veil. So Envy has a lot of safety that Eiko cannot break through just yet.
Exactly. And that being said, it really hurts Eiko that, aside from the fact that he's not able to be the first.
Gets canceled. The Weaver's Wall will not be available. That's a lot of shields. A healing for Redemption. And that's going to be ACA now, stuck in this chokehold. It's going to be Liar taking out a lot of DPS. XDXP just looking for an opportunity to get onto Luxuria. ACA on the run. Jason takes out Pandars there in the bot lane. This might be a signal for Infuse to back off in it. And they actually do.
Oh, man. Great on ACA.
All right, the boy. A little bit of a dangerous spot to recall.
Has to be a little bit more careful.
Yes.
Even though they did win that small battle, they still need a little bit more to really go up to par with Infuse. But that being said, very well played by ACA.
Yes.
That's actually what they need to do. And what they could potentially capitalize on is these missed positions that Infuse has, especially when Pandars isn't around. But that's going to be a turret taken down by them.
Oh, man. This might be more objectives for them, but they are quite low. Cannot underestimate the damage that XDXP can bring out, so they have to recall. And Baron will be up again in like 15 seconds. That is an objective that they cannot give up.
You have to be very careful. So let's go ahead and see what transpired here. Actually, Envy, this is the problem that I had here, which really caused things to go wrong for Infuse Esports right here. Envy actually allowing himself to get caught out by pretty much outnumber a lot of members. He actually Weaver's walked into a lot of members of Asian Arena. And
blocks off
said,
his team, his
exactly.
own team.
And of course, here in the bot lane as well, this is a very gutsy tower dive here from Jason. He knows that he could take down Pandars 1v1 and just capitalize on that so hard. And it's just a winning fight for AC at that point. Across the board.
Confident that Pandars does not have enough damage to take him out, so that leaves him free to take off all the vitals. And because all 4 vitals were popped, that was just huge healing, enough to sustain him through the tower dive. So that actually takes away any hope of the hero's entrance to save Infuse. So that's why they backed off.
So there we go. But yeah, again, Infuse Esports, they actually have great things going for them already. It's just they want to avoid those what seems to be small mistakes, but because Asian Arena is able to capitalize on it so hard, like the smallest mistake they just really don't want to make. They've been playing this game really well throughout, but that small mistake really translated to really bad things for them. And
this is the point of the game where Infuse cannot afford to make mistakes. Early game, sure, they can make a few mistakes, give a few kills here and there, because this ACA's power spike is very late. But now that it's everyone's, this is reaching the 37-minute mark, Jason has over 300 CS, Luxuria as well, plus he has like 3 items, a Hex Drinker, and a quick QSS as well. Ooh. You cannot afford to make those mistakes, because that is a late game composition. Here comes Morai, the boy. Gonna bring a Abyssal Voyage with Aiko with him. Might be dangerous. Oh man, that's gonna be Liar. As he uses QSS to save himself from that stun. That's the second tier turret saved by ACA.
And this is what you've been talking about. Because we are in the later stages of the game, this is where ACA really starts to shine. And this is a precaution that Infuse should have... This is a sign, telltale sign actually, that Infuse should have really gotten things going. In fact, probably finished the game towards this mark. But because it's reached this long into the game, it's just going to cause them much more trouble. If you guys notice, a lot of the proactivity that Infuse has been doing... Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, like Jason there canceled his TP while the rest of his team was rotating Baron. So it seems like he was going to continue split pushing down that bot lane, but that actually left ACA quite open. Cannot commit to that Baron just yet. Very strange decision.
And what's interesting here is that towards the early and mid game, ACA was more reactive to what Infuse was doing, but now it's Infuse that actually needs to react to ACA because they're so late into the game. Not to mention the fact
has to be used for him to rotate bot lane. But that is a huge CC potential taken away from Pandars. We'll see if Asian Arena is able to capitalize on this missed ultimate. See how they rotate around the map. Infuse is ahead in 2 Cloud Drakes, but we'll see how ACA responds to that move speed deficit that they do have. Seems like they're splitting apart the party here. They'll try to get that bot lane push while establishing some vision there on the top side.
Yeah, with that being said, what's actually interesting and what I really like about ACA now that they're in the late game is Jason in himself. He's very confident in his 1v1 with Pandars that I don't think Pandars himself alone could actually respond to that. And like I mentioned, it's kind of the tables have kind of turned in a way where in ACA they couldn't really afford, like, even Jason himself, like, they couldn't really afford for him to lose him in the earlier phases of clashes, but because Jason has a great foundation going into the late game, it just allows him to split push, allows more pressure that ACA didn't have within the early and mid game. And again, Infuse, this is quite the predicament for them because it just makes whatever dominance that they had earlier, it's just so much more harder to assert themselves now that it's pretty much on ACA at this point. Their strengths are definitely within this time of the game.
Yeah, because now ACA can sustain harder. Now that they have more tools to keep their carries alive, Jason has his own form of sustain with the Vitals, and he has 2 lifesteal items. Luxuria as well has the Blade of the Ruined King, has the Warlord's Bloodlust, which means that ACA can make these very proactive, sustainable plays, such as baiting into the Dance into the Elder Drake, and they're now immediately rotating here to the Baron.
Oh no, this is going to be very, very interesting. But yeah, ACA actually able to stop that. Actually, for both sides, Elder Drake was actually not continued either for ACA, knowing that the Baron might have been taken.
It's much faster to take Baron as well, especially with the composition that Infuse has. So the priority was taking away that huge objective from Infuse. But now they're again trying to go and finish this. They are under vision, but look at how fast that is. Blade of the Ruined King on that Kog'Maw plus a very sustainable Jason. That is going to be Pandars alone though against 4. Now it's going to be the rest of the cavalry here for Infuse. That is going to be Moraita Boy almost taken down. Sinabla as well. Here comes Eiko in the middle of everyone. Pandars gets taken down. That's their front line. Now XDXP with a shield from the Solar, with a shield from Sachi. Now alone against Jason. Has to run away from him. That's going to be Sinabla fronting for ACA. Luxuria dealing so much damage. Has to flash away though. Now he's alone without a tank. It's going to be up to Jason to clean this up, but might be too hard for him. That is 3 members of Infuse low. He does have a lot of lifesteal, but he decides he has to fold. He has to get out of there.
Oh man,
quite enough.
And that was actually very interesting. I was actually expecting things to go in ACA's favor because Zenalva actually released a very crucial explosive class that where in Infuse Esports was kind of in a position where they were grouped together, but because there wasn't as much of a solid follow-up from the rest of the members of ACA, tables turned really fast for Infuse Esports, and they will be getting this Baron.
They focused a lot on taking out Pandars.
Exactly.
So that's a lot of cooldowns, a lot of attention. Oh man, that is going to be Jason trying to go for a hero play, not quite.
Gutsy move right there, although that casualty actually makes things all the more solid for Infuse Esports. And I was just saying, they were actually struggling earlier, but because of that Baron buff. So let's go ahead and check out what happened here. So as I was saying, Pandar's actually great delay here right here because members of Infuse Esports, they were kind of converging together, and this is the part actually I was expecting ACA to kind of come together. That was a good explosive cast, but like I mentioned, there wasn't as much a follow-up as far as the damage that it allowed Infuse Esports enough time to just kind of recuperate, get back together, and looking at everything else happening, AC actually separated at this point. That Infuse Esports, as soon as they were back together, exactly. And Zenalva getting caught out here. Luxuria trying to do what he can, but it's a little bit too late. Like I mentioned, the damage output, they already had a great front line, but it was a little bit in too late for Luxuria to do anything else.
Yeah, I think that mistake was from Pandars, focusing on Pandars. Oh man, they get both Baron and Drake. This might be very dangerous for Infuse. If they lose a team fight, that will be Infused, taking away the game. Moraita Boy has to proc the thick skin already. And gets taken out by Liar. Now it's good. They are on the run. XDXP trying to go for Luxuria. Almost gonna take him out. Does take him out. Assassinate with a leap reset. Find the zone while the rest of his team takes out this turret. The redemption to just make things harder for ACA. It seems like they will have this in the bag. Eiko does not deal enough damage. Jason cannot face up against 5. Those are 2 inhibitors going to be taken down. Oh, that is going to be Zenavla snared and chopped down to around half health. The damage from Infuse against those turrets is huge. Jason, a little bit of health. GAS proc, a little more free time for Infuse to take away these objectives. EXP around the wings, trying to go for Eiko. This is going to be a Weaver's Wall. He has no flash just yet. Gets cancelled, however. Now it's going to be the rest of the game actually going to Infuse. As they take away a few more kills, Eiko cannot defend this alone.
Wow.
Man. Decisive win from Infuse there.
Indeed. I mean, I gotta hand it to Asian Arena though. They definitely showed a lot more improvement going into the PGS right now, but still, just when I thought Infuse Esports might falter a little bit because of showing the same trends that they've showed as far as what strengths that they have, if they won't be able to adjust to that. But yeah, I mean, they still showed up to be the stronger team in that place, but still it was somewhat very close. It just kept on going back and forth. But yeah, there was some very key mistakes that from Asian Arena that just led to Infuse Esports.
Yeah, that's definitely something. All those calls for a team fight when they're not at their peak of power means that there was a lot of room for mistakes in the side of Infuse. And that late game call, I really love the Elder Drake, where Jason and Luxuria were getting it. But once they focused too much on taking down Pandars and left themselves open, that's when it started going completely downhill for them. Let's look at the end game stats here.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, Sinavila was actually one of the star players, I'd say, of ACA in this game, or even generally for the roster.
Yeah, I really have to commend
but then
how
again,
he's played.
Everyone else just didn't quite follow suit to the amazing setups that he made, and that's something they really have to consider in the late game because the synergy was definitely on Infused Esports side. Again, it's one of those situations where one player alone couldn't really make things work. It has to be a team effort.
He is a tank.
Exactly, and
so,
look at the damage
after
though.
his setup, the burden is now, the ball is now passed to his teammates.
Indeed.
So because Luxuria and the rest didn't have enough of that protection, that setup by Zinavla was for naught. And look at the damage come from Envy. Look at the damage come from Liar.
Indeed.
That is huge.
Definitely MVP-ish of the game, I'd say.
Because
definitely on Liar.
That was all because of the front line come from Pandars, the safety and shields coming from Sachi as well. All of that. It was just way too hard considering the compositions.
There we go. So, yeah, I mean, again, I was somewhat expecting that Asian Arena would be able to get their vengeance in this first game, but looks like it's going to be prolonged a little bit more. Whether or not they could establish that in Game 2, we'll just have to see if that translates, actually. But then again, of course, congratulations as Infused Esports does take Game 1 of our first matchup for the day.
And that, of course, as you said, that is Game 1. We have been your shoutcasters, Atlas. I am Atlas. With me is Arctic. We'll be back for Game 2 to see if Asian Arena can recover from this loss. Snared and chopped down to around half health. The damage from Infuse against those turrets is huge. Jason, a little bit of health. GAS proc, a little more free. Boy, Wits and Nabla, they might be in trouble. He's with the body slam flash. The hero's entrance will try and save them. They get cast away from there. It's looking right, the boy devouring his jungler. Now it's going to be Jason. Try to go for the DPS against the support. Sashi gets taken down. It's going to be Panders now the target. He is a tank, but not against the true damage of Jason. Boy, Wits and Nabla, they might be in trouble. He's with the body slam flash. Hero's entrance will try and save them. They get cast away from there. It's looking right, the boy devouring his jungler. Nabla gets a lot of heals on him, but the rain of arrows will take him out. The hero's entrance to the back line. Eiko and Luxuria quite low for the carries here. Devoured by Muraita Boy. Still takes out Luxuria. It's going to be Jason almost taking out Pandars. Not quite enough. Muraita Boy now giving the quadra onto Envy.
So that, aside from the fact that he's not able to be the first,
gets canceled. The Weaver's Wall will not be available. That's a lot of shields. A healing for Redemption. That's going to be ACA now, stuck in this chokehold. It's going to be Liar taking out a lot of DPS. XDXP just looking for an opportunity to get onto Luxuria. ACA on the run. Jason takes out Pandars there in the bot lane. This might be a signal for Infuse to back off. Now it's going to be the rest of the cavalry here for Infuse. That is going to be Muraita Boy almost taken down. Sinabla as well. Here comes Eiko in the middle of everyone. Pandars gets taken down. That's their front line. Now XDXP with a shield from the Solar, with a shield from Sachi. Now alone against Jason. Has to run away from him. That's going to be Sinabla fronting for ACA. Luxuria dealing so much damage. Has to flash away though. Now he's alone without a tank. It's going to be up to Jason to clean this up, but might be too hard for him. Snared and chopped down to around half health. The damage from Infuse against those turrets is huge. Jason, a little bit of health. GAS proc, a little more free time for Infuse to take away these objectives. XP around the wings, trying to go for Eiko. This is going to be a Weaver's Wall. He has no flash just yet. He gets cancelled, however. Now it's going to be the rest of the game actually going to Infuse. Has to take away a few more kills. Eiko cannot defend this alone. Excitement.
escape. Only oblivion. When we come for your world, do not fight. The universe is vast, and our hunger insatiable. You only prolong the inevitable. Nothing escapes the pull of eternity. Let's see how dark it can really get. A dark star rises. Your efforts are meaningless.
There is no salvation.
Nowhere left to run.